Imagine God's love revealed. Hello, my name is Angelique Bird, and I'm the Regional Director of the Communications Ministry. Over the last year, we've experienced the impact a pandemic can have on the way we connect with one another. In experiencing this shift, the Communications Ministry has seen God's love revealed in the elbow bumps that were once handshakes. Who knew we could converse with our eyes? I've seen some of the most beautiful smiles come from masked faces through brown, blue, black, and green eyes. We've seen God's love revealed in the way our hearts have come together to care for the beloved community in new ways. God's love has been revealed in the comforting and uplifting words and worship services shared across digital platforms. Yes, we've experienced change, but the one thing that will always remain constant is God's love for us. A love that has been revealed in many places and many spaces. This Advent season, we are again reminded of God's love as we celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ.
Hi, I'm Beth Rue. I'm the coordinator of Disciples Women's Ministries in Illinois and Wisconsin. A few years ago, when I was at a Disciples Women's Leadership Committee meeting, we talked about how women in the Christian church could connect. Women and groups were encouraged to post on social media such as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and to end their post with the words #DWConnect. When someone would subsequently search for this hashtag, what would come up would be all of these posts. And folks could see what others were doing across the country. It was a source of inspiration and a source of new ideas. It was a way of connecting. It was a way of reaching out and sharing with one another when we couldn't be in the same physical space. From the very beginning, connection has been a part of what is at the heart of the Disciples Women's Ministries. It is about empowering and resourcing and sharing and reaching out and meeting the needs, of being present for one another, of supporting one another. And it's about relationships and connections. Connections and relationships are also important in the Illinois and Wisconsin region. In fact, relationships are one of the core values. We are about forming new relationships as kids come to camp and as new churches are formed, as we gather in physical spaces with our regional assemblies and other training and educational events and book clubs. It is also about building and supporting those relationships that we already have with one another, living in covenant with one another as we support and care and listen and we learn from one another. Relationships, meaningful, relevant, being present for one another. It's a part of our values. During the Advent season, we think a lot about what relationship means to God as we sing, O come, Emmanuel. Come, God with us. We remember that God so loved the world that he sent his son. It's not to be separate from us, but to be one with us, to dwell with us, to be present for us. It is a part of this relationship and this relational God that we worship and that we seek to follow as we build relationships with one another, as we reach out to one another. COVID was a difficult time as it challenged many of our tried and true ways of relating, of being in community with one another. But we came through it. And in 2021, we have been able to be back in our sanctuaries and we have been able to again resume some of the activities. Congregations have opened fellowship halls for vaccine clinics so that people can gather in healthy and safe ways. We have seen that food pantries have had stocks of food so that those who have experienced economic challenges would have one less thing to worry about. We have found ways of reaching into the homes of our homebound and our shut-ins through new ways of doing worship live through social media. We are connecting and we are remembering that a part of who we are called to be is this people who live in relationship with God and thus who live in relationship with one another. It is the Christmas season. It is the time when we remember Emmanuel, God with us. And it is a time when, because God is with us, that we reach out and we seek to be in relationship with one another. God's blessings this holiday seasons, God's blessings as we continue to seek to connect in relevant and meaningful and holy ways.
I'm Alex Ruth, the Associate Regional Minister for Transformation in the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ in Illinois and Wisconsin. As I think back over this past year and where I've seen God's love revealed in my life and ministry, it has been most evident in the transition that I have made to this new position here in this new region. The welcome and encouragement, excitement that I have experienced in my brief time here in Illinois and Wisconsin have been overwhelming. I have been astounded, impressed, and awestruck by the wide breadth and variety of ministries, ways in which we are seeking to experience and extend God's love, not only in our local communities, but in such a broad and expansive way across the region and throughout the world. The many ways in which we are focused on creating new and vibrant, vital ministries, supporting school for ministry, healthy congregations, coaching that is available to our congregations and to our pastors, the work of youth and young adult ministry, the work on creating new and creative forms of communication, transformation, all these things that are happening within and throughout our region. They are an expression of God's expansive and encompassing love for us all. This Christmas season, I hope that you will join me in supporting the work of the Christian Church, Disciples of Christ in Illinois and Wisconsin, as we give to this special offering of the church. May we look forward to the many new and vibrant ways in which God will reveal God's self to us in the year and years to come. May God bless.
In the Gospel of Luke, the writer tells us that Mary, who was pregnant with Jesus, visits her cousin Elizabeth. And when Elizabeth sees and hears Mary, she immediately utters a blessing and says that even her own baby was overjoyed. That's how I imagine God's love is revealed to us. We know God's love is everywhere, but sometimes there are moments when it becomes very clear and undeniable that God's love is around us. There were a few moments like that for me this past year, moments in ministry when I saw God's love at work. I saw God's love revealed through the clear joy in the faces of youth and adults alike when we returned to camps in person over the summer. Or just a few weeks ago during our Summit Youth Retreat, when our keynoter, John Danielle, reminded us that each one of us is beautifully made by God and that we should never feel shame in who we are. I even saw God's love revealed just a few short days ago when I heard the story of a young person who found a home at one of our disciples' churches. There they felt like part of a family and were welcomed, loved, and accepted for who they are. This love and welcome was not something they had experienced much at other churches. For me, these were just a few moments when God's love was revealed. But we know that we can find God's love revealed everywhere we could imagine.
I'm Jeff Zimmerman, Minister for New Church Ministry in the Illinois-Wisconsin region. I'm thankful for the opportunity to minister with folk who are actively imagining how God's love might be revealed and how to embody that vision in a new Christian community. My desire and hope for you is for you to see God's love revealed in your own community, in your own neighborhoods, learning to see with new eyes, learning to listen with new hearts and without judgment, and imagining church in new ways and in new contexts. God's love is revealed everywhere and every place you look. If only we have the eyes to see and the heart to imagine. Please join with me in making a gift to this year's Christmas offering, supporting our regional work together as we seek to be church in bold and creative ways and to reflect the diversity and wholeness of God's kingdom. Thank you.